Hey everybody, welcome back. This is day 2 of Epic Week. My name is Leah Nicole Smith. I'm the Senior VP of Education and Research for Apartment Ratings and Satisfax. And today is all about taking those NA Epic grades straight up to the top. We're going to elevate those to A pluses. And I'm going to show you how easy it can be done. So yesterday's video, we talked about Epic Truth number 1 and how Epic really does level the playing field for all communities on apartment ratings, regardless of your size, type, class, you name it. It really is that key metric that shows a balance of your overall team's performance and how that performance impacts your resident experience. So Epic Truth for day 2, number 2, an NA Epic grade can be transformed to an A plus in 90 days, believe it or not. That is the absolute truth. Here is a screenshot at the top of one of our client partners. Q2 of 2024, they were NAs. They didn't have an Epic grade for any of their communities, and in 90 days, they were able to transform that to an A+. Here's the plan. Here's how you get there. The first 30 days, it's all about assessment. You want to see sort of what the level of sentiment is at your community. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go through this video. The second 30 days is where you identify those opportunities for improvement and implement action plans. So you want to make sure if there are any challenges or detractors to your resident experience, you're tackling those, you're resolving them, so that in that last piece of 90 days, that 30-day, the third Thursday, we'll call them. This is where you activate our verified resident program, where we will reach out to all of your residents, asking them on your behalf to write a review on apartment ratings. This is where the magic happens. This is where you start collecting reviews on apartment ratings, and your Epic grade will calculate with your very first review. You just need one apartment ratings review in the last 365 days to kickstart an Epic index and its corresponding grade. So the reason why you want to kind of take a beat and not just go out and ask all of your residents to write a review off the bat is you really need to see what you're working with. And that's where our resident sentiment survey comes in. It's actually going to provide you and us, your educators, better data to help guide your next steps. It's a super short survey. There's only 13 questions, and we're going to give you the recommended target scores for each question. And if you're hitting the target scores, you can feel really good that when we reach out to your residents, you're going to get more positive reviews than negative or neutral reviews. Based on the data that comes back, we'll be putting together custom action plans for your teams. We're also going to give you an Epic Index improvement plan with sort of goals and projections to help get you to that A+. Now, the resident sentiment survey, in order to achieve sort of a high level of sentiment, we're considering that to be about a 4.25 out of 5. You want to be making sure that these 4 categories are really above the target scores that we're going to give you. There are going to be questions on the survey about the office and maintenance, and what that helps us to determine is what do service levels look like on any given day. So when your residents need the office or when they need some help from maintenance, how does that part of their experience look? Then we also want to tap into not just that moment in time, but we want to ask them about consistency. So whenever they need you guys, right? Are you always there? Are you always coming through for them? That's the overall level of service question that's on the survey. And then we're going to be asking about your sense of community. When residents have a really solid, positive level of sense of community, they want to participate. They want to tell other people. They want to help you out with your reviews. So that's important to tap into, because you don't just want to ask your residents to write you a review, because if they don't have a really good, positive sense of community, that ask maybe for nothing, right? You might put in all this effort and not really get back what you want. And then one of the really important questions on the survey is we ask about perception of value. When residents feel like the rent is fair, it's in line for what they're getting in return, you do tend, again, that sentiment, the words that are coming out of a review tend to be more moving for the prospect who's reading the reviews and trying to decide where they live. What tends to happen when you guys go out and just ask your residents to write a review, or you have QR codes everywhere, what that does is you have residents that kind of silo their experience. They just talk about the person who asked them to write a review, or they just talk about the most recent interaction that they had with the office or with maintenance. By capturing the overall sentiment, you're kind of prepping your residents so that when you do ask them to write a review via the Verified Resident Program, you tend to get a more well-rounded story. And it's super important to not just focus on the star ratings of the review, but focus on the stories that are going along with that review itself. Those stories are what really compels the next future renter to select your community. So here's sort of a breakdown of the things that we're able to see when we conduct a resident sentiment survey. You'll notice that purple row, those are the target scores, where you should be for those different aspects of a resident's experience. And if we were kind of just going to break this down, Rixby Lane, they are on point, ready to go. They have hit all the target scores. 76% of their residents said that if they were asked, they'd be willing to write a review. At this point, if your scores looked like Rixby Lane coming out of a resident sentiment survey, you could probably just start right into the Verified Resident Program. There's not a whole lot of course correction that's in there. Now, do we recommend the action plans? Absolutely. They can only help to improve the amount of reviews that you get, or the overall ratings of the reviews themselves. Now, where we have the community Anchor Ridge, and I'll say all of these names have been changed, but Anchor Ridge is not ready. They have low sentiment, low sense of community. Really, about only half of the residents would recommend their community to a friend, but look at that 100%. All of those residents would be willing to write a review. Now, if we invited those residents, chances are at that moment, those reviews are going to lean more negative than positive. So we don't want to jump the gun. We want to fix any issues, smooth out the challenges before inviting those residents. And then we have Youngstown Loft. They're kind of in the middle. They're doing well in certain areas, a little below target in the others. Because they do have a really strong sentiment rating and the sense of community score is really strong, it would be safe to go ahead and launch the Verified Resident Program, but keep in mind, given that only 81% would recommend the community and only 50% or 56% would be willing to write a review, those reviews could be mixed. You could get some negatives in there, maybe more than they'd like. They might get low participation on the Verified Resident Program. So you can see, based on this table, the importance of doing a resident sentiment survey first. You really want to know what it is that you're working with. And then we have the community timeline. If you're looking at the community timeline on apartment ratings, you can actually see on a monthly basis when those scores are going to change or when those grades are changing. So as you're doing the resident sentiment survey and as you're implementing your action plans, you may continue to be at an NA if you haven't gotten any reviews for apartment ratings. But then once we activate that verified resident program, that's where, again, the magic happens. All right, so as we are wrapping up day 2 of Epic Week, here are some things to consider. Our resident sentiment survey really does serve as sort of like a temperature check of how well things are going, where your residents are in terms of their emotional connection to the community, how are they feeling about their overall experience. And as you open up or as you move on to do the verified resident program, keep in mind verified reviews is the number 2 most helpful element of a review. We ask renters across the country to rank their 10 elements, and number 2 was that the review is verified. Number 1 is that the review contains detailed information. So we're going back to that sentiment, right? It's the stories that your residents are telling. And in terms of your EPIC index, 70% of your index, as we talked about yesterday, is all about the experience, the performance, how are your residents, again, feeling, and do they have that kind of experience that they want to share, they want to talk about. So you have to make sure that whatever it is that they're sharing is going to work in your favor. So you do that sentiment survey first, capture that positive sentiment or streamline the areas that you need to before asking them to participate with the verified resident program. And if you are going from an NA, you may not have a plan in place to respond effectively to your online reviews. So if that's really not part of your day-to-day or you don't really have a strategy for it, consider our review responder solution where we will respond with tailored responses on your behalf. So essentially, we're going to take care of 30% of your EPIC index. Now, whether you're talking about the sentiment survey, the verified resident program, our review responder, pretty much everything that we do here at Satisfax and Apartment Ratings is all compliant with the FTC. There is no review gating, so we're not going to promise that all of your reviews are going to be 5-star reviews, right? We're not filtering those things out. We're not suppressing reviews either. Anyone who wants to take a, or anyone who wants to write a review for apartment ratings is able to do so. We have to be above board with the FTC. So you can rest assured that you're not opening up your company, your reputation to any type of risk whatsoever. The day 2 of Epic Week is officially closing, so it's time for me to announce our contest. We want you to get your teams together, brainstorm how you're going to have an Epic 2025, capture the moment with a photo that you're going to post to your social media, either Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, doesn't matter. You need to use the hashtag #HowEpicAreYou and tag us, Satisfax, so that we know you've entered the contest. You have until Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time to enter, and we will announce the winner on Monday. So we hope you all get together, brainstorm how you're going to have an Epic 2025, participate in our contest, and you could win one of 3 $200 gift cards just in time for the holidays. So thank you everyone for joining me. Tomorrow is day 3. Carla Alicea will be on hand to talk about EPIC and how it is so impactful for renters who are trying to choose the best home for them. Thanks everyone, and we will see you tomorrow.